Um, Thank you for my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Tadeh Derstepanian, obviously. I am currently, actually, I guess before that, I was a CMU graduate, Carnegie Mellon University. Actually, that's how I know your brother. That's how I know Steven. We were actually freshman year, like neighbors in the same dorm. I studied chemistry in my undergraduate, and then I did my master's in chemical engineering for a year. And now I am in a biotech company, Sanofi. I'm in R&D. I'm um, doing mRNA and like lipid nanoparticle research in like formulations as well. So that's pretty much like a very, very quick synopsis about me.
That sounds very amazing. What got you into it?
Um, so I was pretty much always leaning towards the chemistry track ever since high school. I really enjoyed chemistry. It was something that, I don't know, just trying to explain why things happen the way they do really struck the intellectual like chord with me, and it was something that I stuck with. But then when I started going through college, I was starting to realize that I didn't want to do a PhD, and I didn't see really a career for me in chemistry outside of, if I want to do a PhD. So I also really enjoyed math growing up. So I was kind of a weird thing where I was like, math, chemistry combination, chemical engineering seems like the best fit for that. And then I just decided to go with that. But also it opened up a lot more career path opportunities for me. And I enjoyed the more of the applications of chemistry rather than like the theory behind it. So that's why I know they're very different, chemical engineering and chemistry, but there's a lot of things that can carry over. And that's why I want to pursue a career path with that. And I always wanted to go into pharmacy. I think for seeing all those, like, you see all the ads on TV where they're like, here's the medication, but then like 10 seconds of it are about, the benefits, and then the rest of it is about the side effects. And then it got me thinking, like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way for people in general, and then there's got to be a better way for everyone else. Or like even companies themselves to market their products rather than just have all the side effects listed. Because that's a big turnoff for a lot of people, like the side effects. And so that really pushed me towards pharmacy, thinking that there has to be a better way. And then from that, you know, job apps and whatever I got, I kind of accepted. So now I'm here.
Do you feel like you're on the path to that better way?
I believe so. I mean, this is like, I haven't even been working for a year yet. So I'm still really new to, relatively speaking, really new to like everything that's going on in the work world. I do believe I'm on the right path. I just think that like there's more that I can do. Right now I'm just trying to gain some experience, and then we'll see where I move to when I change companies.
Um, as you get that experience, how do you keep alive sort of like your visions for how things could be different versus allowing that experience to sort of reshape your visions into what already is?
Well, it's like, the saying, it's just in school, whenever um I don't know when you were in school, but like the last time you were there, it was like you wanted to just learn basically. You were constantly learning. It wasn't like, obviously grades mattered at some point, but you wanted to just learn and build a knowledge base for what you want to do, what you're trying to build, and that's like you're just trying to understand what's going on around you, and trying to see what piques your interest. It's not all about like the grades, right? Part of it was, but it's not all about it. And it's like the same thing in the work environment. It's like the outcome of it definitely matters. Like the outcome, what you do definitely matters. But there's like the hidden importance of like learning on the job and like building that experience I mentioned before, and trying to develop that foundation for what you're doing is very, very important. So my mindset kind of going in is I do want to obviously help out the company as best as I can, which is what I'm trying to do. But then there's also that you want to learn on the job, build as much of a understanding of the processes around you, and then see based on that conceptual understanding what you're doing, how can you make it better, type thing. So it's like whatever you're learning, you want to understand with the actual nitty gritty on what is happening in that process, and then from that you can understand, okay, if in this step I did this instead of doing that originally. I say very general, but you can just kind of understand that you can change something and make it better. And that is kind of like the understanding that you go into, especially in R&D, where you're constantly like just reading things online, reading articles online. You're constantly trying to improve the way that you're running experiments. And obviously talking with your peers and everything can help. So it's just that constant wanting desire to learn. It's kind of pushing me to like try to understand how to make things better, and that can help in the future as well.
That makes sense. Well, I had some questions about space I wanted to ask you.
Okay. Sure.
I guess first of all, did you know that NASA's planning to send astronauts back to the moon?
Like they're planning to do it when?
Well, they're planning to send astronauts around the moon in 2024 and landing on the moon in 2025.
Oh no, I knew about it. I just didn't know when it was.
Yeah, originally whenever I started this project, the plan was to land them on the moon in 2024, which is kind of why I'm counting down to the end of 2024. But that kind of
Right.
slipped out here.
No, that's awesome,
What
actually.
what do you think about them sending astronauts to the moon? I mean, is it something that excites you, or you're like that money could be better spent other places, or something different?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know much about why they're going to the moon this time to like give you like a basis on my understanding, but like just for like the first time they sent someone to the moon, that was amazing because you proved that we proved that we could do it. Now, I mean, do you know why NASA sending people to the moon right now, or they're planning to in 2024, 2025?
Well, there's a large number of reasons. Since the last time we went to the moon, we discovered that in these permanently shadowed areas of the moon, in craters near the poles, there appears to be water ice. So we kind of want to go and prove out that resource. But the moon's an interesting place because it's been traveling in the same volume of space as the Earth, but it has no atmosphere, has no weather, and so essentially it's been uh, a meteor that crashed into the moon millions of years ago is essentially um, still there. Whereas if it had crashed into the Earth, it would have been weathered over, and there would be no um, you really couldn't look at it. But then the other thing is people see it as a good place to kind of practice before going further, say to Mars.
That's true. Well, I mean, when you put it that way, I think, and I don't know how much money is being, like given for this certain mission. I'm assuming a lot, just because it takes money for the rocket, for like just all the science behind it. I do think that it is good. I don't remember the last time we sent. When was the last time we sent someone to the moon?
1972.
Yeah, so it's almost been 40. It's been over 40 years or 50 years. So it's about due time. So I think, yeah, it's a good way. I think it's a good thing to send someone or people. I don't know how many people they're gonna send, but yeah, if they're trying to understand, put it loosely, like weather patterns or just like what's happening with the water on the moon, it's a pretty good like scientific achievement if they can figure that out by sending people there. So I think, yeah, it's a pretty good way to spend money at this point.
Well, I just out of curiosity, how big do you think NASA's budget is?
Considering that like they're one of the big. They're probably the biggest air like international company. I want to say I don't know. I don't know a reasonable number off the top of my head, but definitely I want to say like in the hundreds of millions, maybe billion, but I don't know. I don't know how big their budget is, to be honest.
Yeah, NASA's budget for this year is about 25 billion. And that covers the human space flight, all the robotic stuff, and everything else. Just to put that number in perspective, the military budget is about 700, over 700 billion. So,
Well, they have a smaller. So how much would it cost to send someone to the moon, like one person to the moon?
well, they're planning to send four, because they're thinking that two will stay in orbit and then two will go down to the surface. That way, you'll never have an astronaut all by himself or all by herself.
Right.
Uh, and I think they're kind of thinking that this is going to be in the. I'm not sure what the budget figures there are, but I would imagine the total cumulative budget over the, um, kind of development of the systems that we've been developing, plus the new systems and operations and all that would be somewhere between like 50 to 100 billion. But that's over like a 20-year period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so annually that's not as bad. Okay. So it's not too, I mean, for us, 100 billion is a lot of money, but for them it's probably nothing, which is kind of scary to say because like they could be like using that money to like, recycle it out basically and just like wasting money at that point. But I do think that like given that price point, and you said it's over like a 20-year period, right? So like they've been using that to build like to develop the research, to develop the technology for it and just kind of go with it. So like, yeah, I mean, seems reasonable, but also like their budget is so much smaller compared to the military, which makes sense because the military, is physically like protecting our country internationally. So like that makes sense to give more money to military and stuff. But I think, and that makes it more reasonable to send some four people in this case to the moon. But yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, like the Navy is protecting, international commerce, and they participate in like rescue and kind of disaster recovery. So definitely, they definitely do a lot. That's true. When you think about the future of humanity, say 200 years out, do you think we're still only on the Earth, or do you think we've have people on the Earth and other people on the Moon and other people on Mars and other places? I mean, like, what does it look like in 200 years?
In 200 years. So, movies can only show so much. I think in 200, I think that technology is more or less going to be so advanced that we might have a few people on the moon. But I do think that most people will still reside on Earth just because actually in 200 years overpopulation is going to be a humongous issue, or actually it still is becoming an issue now. So I retract that. I think we might be able to find some people on Mars or I don't know, Venus is not livable, but Mars for sure. We might be able to find some people, but I just think that like it might get to the point where I don't know if I'm too like not biased, but like too what convinced like I'm like too convinced or like brainwashed by all like the sci-fi I watch. But like we might see like robots eventually on Earth. And I don't want to say like I'm like a conspiracy theorist at all. Like it's just it could be the truth because like technology is so advanced that everything's becoming automated at this point. So it's possible to see one or not one, many on the Earth in even like 100 years. So I mean, it's possible. I don't know. I do think that like if I were to give an answer, I think most people would still be residing on Earth, but just overpopulation is becoming more and more of an issue. So anything is possible.
Now, population is, um, uh, the current population plus new births minus deaths, right? And so there's sort of really two levers to changing the population. One is how your death rate changes and how your birth rate changes. And so
Right.
our death rate has been going down. And so what you're seeing is like the age of the population is really going up. But our birth rate has been going down. In fact, Japan had a record low birth rate, number of births this year. Um, and uh, you know, China has had the one child policy for
Right.
decades, and they're kind of suffering the ramifications of that. And I look at, Stephen and Christopher, my children, and then their peers and everybody, you know, having children isn't like high up on their list of priorities. So I'm just wondering if we might actually have a population collapse instead of overpopulating.
It's possible because like America doesn't have any regulations on that like China does. Like you can see people who this is like for cultural like I've had like neighbors who are like Mormons and like they have many kids. Like four. I've seen people who have four, five, six kids, and I'm just like, how do you do it? And just yeah, it's possible that they could have just a big cloud. We might not have enough resources for to feed everyone at this point, or water to go around, or food, or even
Hmm.
homes. Like people might become homeless. So it's yeah, it's becoming an issue.
Um, if you could, would you take a trip to space?
Oh. Hmm. You know, if it was just like tunnel vision, if it was just going to space, yes, but like there's so much training that goes on before it. Like you have to go into I don't know what it's called, but the big like the thing that spins you around and stuff. Um,
Centrifuge?
centrifuge, yeah, the centrifuge, and it I get motion sick, so I know that's gonna be bad for me. And so I mean, if it was just no training, they just put you in a rocket, you go to space, they just tell you you know how to hold, you brace yourself. Sure, but I know there's more that goes into it. So I mean, it'd be a fun experience if given the opportunity, but I don't know if I'm like that kind of person because like coming back, it's also just a scary show too because you're just in that capsule, rock sky like going like very fast down, plummeting towards Earth. So yeah, it's scary, but like I mean, it's a thrilling opportunity, but I don't know if I'm the type of person to do it.
I understand that before starting this project, I was said yes, but after talking to several thousand people and hearing various reflections on it, it's not so obviously a yes for me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, not for me either.
Well, that's pretty much all the questions I had, but did you have anything else you wanted to talk about or any questions for me?
Um, I guess how did you get started on this project?
Yeah, so kind of rewinding back to 2019, NASA was focused on getting people on the moon in 2024. They hired an associate administrator um, called Doug Laverio, who had a lapel pin with a number of days to the end of 2024. And he was going around NASA highlighting the NASA person of the day that was getting us to the moon. And for some reason, I was like enthusiastic um, about the project. And I had been working at home, and I thought, why don't I do a similar project, but I'll interview everyday people and get me out of the house, and interacting with the person of the day. So I started it then, and then of course COVID hit, so that was kind of awkward. And then now that I'm so far into it, I feel like I have to see it through to the last day of 2024. Then I can kind of take a step back and reflect on it.
Yeah. And would you go to space if given the opportunity, you think?
I think I probably would. I feel like I pretty much have to, considering everything. It's like how can I mean I haven't been skydiving. I'm scared of
Mhm.
heights, and jumping out of a plane. Jumping out of a perfectly good plane doesn't seem sensible to me. But
Yeah, for me too, don't worry. It just seems if it's already, if you're on it, why get off of it?
yeah, I mean, it was good enough to get you in the air. Why don't you let it take you back to the ground?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's all the questions I have. But yeah, thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you. And if you're ever in Houston, let me know.
I will do. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.